Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to chat with my guest today. I'm chatting with Emily Dilbeck. Emily, why don't you start us off by telling us who you are and what you do in the events industry?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Emily Dilbeck. I am the global field marketing manager for a B2B demand generation pay for performance agency. We also just layered on brand element and we are called Unbound B2B. So I lead all of our global field marketing efforts. Before I started, we did not have a field marketing function. So it has been a bit of a building, let's figure this out, let's figure out, what works for our audience, testing a lot of different things, failing in a lot of different ways, but ultimately learning and taking those on to the next thing. So really excited. This is actually my first role with a B2B marketing focused company. I market to marketers, which that has been a bit of a shift from companies that I've been at in the past. In the past, I've been at some B2B SaaS tech companies. So my audience has been completely different. So again, there's been a little bit of a learning curve, but it's been really great. And I'm excited to continue on at Unbound and continue to grow and expand. Yeah, with more things that we do, more events. I'm like, okay, it's the second half of the year going into Q3. We're in Q3, going into Q4. It's like taking all my learnings from the first half and really trying to implement that and working with our team. So it's really fun.
For sure. And I know that you're also on the side running Beyond the Booth,
Yes,
which is
yes.
I think is, a good segue into what we're talking about today. So tell us what Beyond the
Yeah.
Booth is, and then it'll be obvious of why it's really connected to what we're chatting about.
Yeah, absolutely. Beyond the Booth is kind of like my own little passion project. I am really like a team of one in the US on the marketing side. And so I was like, I need some other people to connect with. I kind of need like an extended team. So I created this group. I had, some different posts that I was making on LinkedIn, had a few people that were commenting back and forth and saying, we should totally create a meetup for like field marketers to just kind of talk about the issues that we're facing, solve problems together, laugh a little bit. So if you've ever joined a session, that is a little bit of an element, but it's all lighthearted and in the best way. Really, I think it's just a great way to come together. I do it once a month. And so if you've never joined an episode, would love to see you there. And again, it's really just low pressure, no slides, just kind of like a really fun way to get together each month.
Yeah, and I've joined a couple of them, and they've always been great discussions. And I think it's really a great group to one find people who get it, because I have too been the team of one and know that struggle when you're working in an organization and you're the only events person, but also really finding a group to see, like, what are people doing, what is new, what is happening. I joke that everyone's favorite question on the last day of a conference is, well, how are you going to top that this year or next year? And it's like, can I just go put my feet up and like sleep for 12 hours before you ask me any questions about next year, right? So, thinking beyond the booth, beyond what we have been doing. And I think, there's a balance between what what we still need from a structure point of view for events to be
Yeah,
logical and to make
yeah,
sense, but also like
yeah.
how can we make them more exciting, more engaging, because we need to have a reason for people to come to the events and come in person.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can have like thinking about the content, specifically, like you can have the world's best panel, but if no one in the room feels like they're part of it, then you might as well be watching like a replay on mute. And that's truly how I feel like with thinking beyond the booth, beyond these conferences, getting down to like these smaller local regionalized events, what are ways that you can really like inject fun into those elements, but like you said, still make it make sense logically, hopefully lead to, whatever. Ultimately it's all about making sure that the outcomes funnel back up into your broader business objectives. So whether that's brand awareness, whether that's, ultimately the ROI piece. I know a lot of like marketers are definitely focused on that. A lot of leadership teams are always focused on that. At Unbound, it's kind of been a little bit of a different shift for us. Ultimately we do like to see the ROI come out of some of the events that we're doing, but really with some of the programs and the things that we're running, we're really focused on like that brand element and that impact of leaving a lasting impression and being an incubator for connection. So that way, when people think about like, there was this person that I met, oh well, it was at this event that Unbound had, and it wasn't through, them trying to sell me on something. It was just, they're connecting other people. And that's really been a completely unique approach, to be honest, that I haven't done at most other companies that I've been at. It's been very much tied back to that pipeline piece. And I know that if you were to ask Jen, our executive of sales, she would probably disagree with me a little bit here. So still working on that alignment piece. We may
Well,
need to
and
go back and watch that
yeah,
episode.
yeah, that's always a challenge of like, well, and I think it's really getting clear on the objectives, right? Like, is this a brand play or is this a lead generation event? And obviously, every event is going to have an element of both. But like, what is the primary objective? And being honest when it's not a lead generation event, or being honest when it should be a lead generation event, but all of the elements are just making it a brand event, and like
Yeah,
making sure that your sales team and your marketing team and the executives know the difference between those two types of events because they're both
yeah,
important. They just serve different purposes, right?
yes,
And you mentioned regional events because I think that that's something that we're really going to see more of in the next like few years. I know, and it's funny because it feels like everything that's old is new again sometimes for maybe just for me. But I worked in a role, oh my God, like I'm looking at the calendar, it's like 10 years ago where yeah, we
whatever. Come
where
on, you're good.
yeah, where we used to do only regional events. Like we hosted in our big city, like I'm in Canada. We hosted in Toronto, but though we only invited people from Toronto or the Toronto area. And I used to joke like we would start in St. John's in the east and run our way through most of the provinces and get to
Yeah,
Victoria at the other end and then basically start all over again and like start from the beginning. And we had a lot of success with that because,
yeah,
particularly in Canada, a lot of these smaller regional markets were not getting any love from any other tech companies.
yeah,
And so when we were competing, people would remember you came to Regina in February and you came to Winnipeg in November and like you care about us and we're not just an afterthought because we're not in Toronto, Montreal, or Vancouver, right?
yeah,
And it's, it's a great way to show your connection to a community when you're trying to build your brand presence, build your community, especially if it's very regionalized, right? The type of work that they're doing, right? Like I know that there was oil and gas, for example, in Alberta. And so we would go to
yeah.
Alberta and then, we would basically hit up all of the provincial capitals because that's where all the government and a lot of education was, right? And one, you are asking for less from your attendees because it's
Yeah.
a event that they can go to easily. They're not being asked to travel. They're not being asked to take 3, 4 days out of their schedule, right? Can you bring that experience and really just make your sales team suffer, your
Yeah.
marketing team suffer in traveling across the country? Just make sure
Yeah.
that they look up the right city when they're planning their attire. Because one time, a couple of guys ended up in a city that had a horrific snowstorm, but they had looked up the wrong city, and so we're not prepared. But they
No.
couldn't get out. They ran out of socks. Anyway, good times, right? But your regional events, and I think two things are happening at like that regional level. One, companies are realizing, hey, it's a pain to get into Toronto and it's expensive to stay in the city. and people
Yeah.
don't want to spend 2, 3 days out of the office. We can make it easier for them and more likely for them to attend if we go to them. And the other thing is that for hosting, it's much cheaper to host in Winnipeg,
Just
or,
about to say
in the
that.
States, I've done so many in Columbus, Pittsburgh. I remember
Yeah.
Columbus specifically. I had a event at a did an offsite at a bar there, and I just asked, like, hey, can you give me a ballpark on your drinks cost, just so that when I'm calculating my budget I have an idea.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, our average drink price is like $6 plus gratuity. And I like laughed because in Toronto it's like three times that, right? And in other big cities,
Yes.
it's three times that, right? So it's like, oh,
Yes.
there are benefits to going to these smaller cities. And then you can have a more intimate experience. You make people feel recognized when they don't feel like they're the only one, like they're a sea of 1,000, right? So are there any like events that you've seen do it really well, or any of those elements that you're bringing into your events now?
Yeah, absolutely. And like seeing do it really well. Like I'm thinking about events that I've really paid attention to over the past few months, ways that I'm like adding that element to what I'm doing is definitely so right, exactly what you said. We're looking at like, okay, where are there pockets of like our community, and how can we come to them, and then also how can we bring that localized influence into whatever event we do. So whether it's
Mm.
be like some type part of the cuisine, making sure that we're working with all local partners whenever we're there, whether it be the print shops. I mean, shout out to the local printers. They're the true like MVPs of events.
Yeah.
But, whether it be the local print shops, or even like sometimes I have been sourcing some local swag vendors specifically for like really custom needs, when it comes to like surprise and delight moments at the event. So then it's not only like something that, okay, like this is a really cool item, it has elements of the city, but it's also locally produced. And so there's that like kind of, proud, moment for whoever the attendee is whenever they kind of find out that, oh, this item is actually, made locally, or it was, bought within partnership with a local store. Another thing that I've actually seen, really actually recently, this was at an event. I don't remember which one it was, but uh, they gave each attendee a like a little like bucks. And so before the event, it was you partnered with all of like local shops, local stores within the small little city. And so I believe it was like more of like a girls community event, something like that. And so it was like a offsite retreat. They partnered with all these local gift stores, local vendors. And so they had basically all these little bucks that the girls could get, and they could go shop the local community to take items back with them, that represented whatever the story was that they were trying to tell within that setting. So that was one thing that I thought was actually really cool and unique, and like a way to actually like give back and like invest back in your community, because it's making sure that like, hey, whatever dollars are spent, like they're actually spent with the local makers and the local vendors, and they're not being spent with like the big conglomerates, wherever they are. So I think that's one way of like really making sure that you're just like investing in whatever local area that you're at. And it just makes it just that much more special. I truly believe.
Yeah, and
What,
it's
what about you?
well, it's funny because there's so many things that you've made me think of just in that alone of, I hate when I go to an event in a new city and I'm like, this food is all like just you could copy and paste this into any banquet. And I get like there's reasons
Yeah.
they do that, and not every meal is
Yeah.
going to be like this local like delicacy. But I last year I was in Dallas and we were at the W, and I got I was ordering the food and I did the brisket, and I was like, I hope this brisket is good because like this will be embarrassing if it's not. And it was one of the best briskets I've ever had in my life, right? And it's like
Right.
because I'm in Texas, like that's what I want to eat in Texas. Like
Hmm.
I don't need to eat Italian or Greek or like,
Yeah.
Mediterranean, which
Exactly.
I get why you do because they're easy, they're fan
Yeah.
favorites, right? And like again,
Yeah.
if you have that through at part of it, great. but
Yeah.
add in some flair of something that's, I
Yeah.
went to another event in Texas last year where they had Texas shaped cornbread. It's like, yes, this is what I'm here for. It was
I
massive
love
too,
it.
because everything is bigger in Texas, right? And getting those regional partners and finding the venues and asking like what is done locally. In Niagara Falls, Canada does some great stuff at their convention center. I've done a few events there, and very seasonal. Peaches are huge in Niagara Falls, which you wouldn't think,
Gosh. No.
like but there's a brewery that does a peach beer, which is fantastic. And they do like a peach tart. They make a lot of jams on site. Like Niagara has like a very interesting climate because of where it is. It's like warmer than a lot of like the rest of that area. And so like I remember I was leaving and they're like, "Oh, here's like a set of jams from like local producers." And it's interesting too, like if you're hosting in a smaller city, the tourism bureaus are so excited to have you there that they are excited to help make those partnerships. So I talked on Instagram a bit about how in Canada right now there's a program going on called 40 Sites in 40 Days, and it's meeting with 40 venues, DMCs, bureaus,
Yeah.
CVBs, and the smaller CVBs. Like I can tell when I'm talking to them, like I know that if you bring a small program to them or a big for them program that would get
Yeah.
lost in a bigger city, they are rushing to help you. They're rushing to like give you great local vendors to in some cities connect you with indigenous programming and
Yep.
art and things like that. And it's like, you know let's stop having event. There's those memes of like, oh, it's great you travel for business, you get to see so much of the world, and like the world is like a Target parking lot. It's like, oh, that you know mid-tier hotel in a random suburb looking
Conference
at the
room.
looking at
Yes.
the freeway, right? Like, and okay, you're gonna maybe not have the best view in every room, but how can you
Yes.
make it feel exciting, and how can you make it
Yeah.
feel like we are somewhere different? Or if you're hosting it regionally for people in that region, like, hey, we're really celebrating what makes us great, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And like I love the fact that you said, partner with your local community. Like I love whenever I'm planning an event, like one of the first things that I do is I reach out to the Chamber of Commerce,
Mm,
in that area, in that town. Like, and that's such a like a untapped resource because
yeah.
there are so many businesses that are partnered with the Chamber of Commerce. They join, they're part of it, and it's just such a resource of information, connections. Same thing, they'll point you in the direction of like, hey, here's a great vendor. And I love like the little local jams, like, what are ways that you can like leave things that are like a takeaway moment, that are like even like the really popular things. Like one of the events that I've done long time ago, it was in Atlanta, and one of the big vendors there was the Savannah Bee Company. They were big, up and coming, and so we partnered with them to create like these custom little honeycomb jars. And so it was all like, it was printed and it was partnered. And it was like all wrapped up and kitted, and it just looked beautiful. And so it was amazing to just be able to have that connection and then bring that into the event. And so there was like an element of like having like kind of the apiary, and it was for the food and wine festival. So there was mead, and like, so it was just this whole like moment. And so having that honey like just made it that much more special. And then knowing that it was, in partner with the local community was even better.
Yeah, and that's great. Like, and even like if you can allow that to kind of dictate your theme.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many bee themed events,
I know.
right? That you can make happen, right? And
Yeah.
using what's there, right? And
Yeah.
not pretending that we're just like kind of living in this like event bubble. It's like, okay, let's get a little bit more exciting. And I'm sure, like, if you asked me in my neighborhood and I live outside the city, like, oh, where should I host an event, or who should I talk to about like some takeaways? Like, I got a great chocolate place. I've got a great, local art market. I know someone who's making things, right? Like it's just, you just gotta kind of look for it. Uh, and that's what people are looking for, right? Like they're looking
Yeah.
for personalized experiences. They're looking for things that they're not going to get at home because again, if you're just watching a video of or a presentation, it's like, okay, like I can do this at home, right? So
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
know you mentioned, before we got on, you were talking about kind of ways that you're also at these smaller events incorporating more of the attendees. Like how are you
Yes.
doing that? Because that's always a struggle, right? Of like, well, you just put up a
Yes.
poll, like, okay, cool.
No.
Right? Like what can
Yes.
we do that's gonna like get people involved beyond just like here's the poll that you answered and like okay we'll watch
Yeah.
this and then that's it, right?
Yeah. Like I think it really goes like it goes back to like designing events that are less about like presentation and more about like co-creation. Like especially at dinner. Like really especially at dinners, because that's the moment where you have like the most intimate opportunity. Like you're in a room with, most of the time, I mean, for my dinners, I like to keep them around like 20, no more than that. Really, even that starts to get like a little crowded. So, the kind of that sweet spot of like 15 to 20, like really small, kind of these intimate dinners is really a series that we've been focused on recently. And so it's about how can we elevate the voice of our attendee, right? So like we're not trying to be like, hey, here's what we do, here's the presentation, but we're really trying to focus on being like an incubator for connection, like really. And that's it. Like when I came back to, like we're not, our primary focus isn't like that ROI. It's a lot of it comes back to that brand. And this is a prime example. Like we're not coming to these events and like giving a hard pitch or a hard sell. Like if there's not a way that we can help you, that's fine. But if there's somebody else in the room that we can connect you with that can help you solve your problems, then that's exactly what we want to do. So like I mean it goes beyond like the table tents. I mean, I think that table tents were great. They were great whenever like people started thinking about like, oh, we could have these table tents, and it'll spark conversations. But I mean, it goes even deeper to like, looking at like who's at the table, like and not just like, oh, who's at the table by chance, but like really curating that behind the scenes. And I think that that's something that a lot of people kind of just like skip over whenever they're planning like these smaller intimate things, is they don't think about like the seating arrangement. They're just like, oh, it's our ICP, like if they're all gonna be there, they're all in the room, they kind of have the same care about. But it's like, okay, great, then maybe our ICP, but like really understand who you're inviting to these events and partner them together with like someone who has their same care abouts. Kind of do like a little, I call it my LinkedIn stock. Like I'm going to try to find out like, do you like chocolates? Like what is your, are you like a very talkative person? Are you kind of a little bit shy? Because I'm not going to put someone who like doesn't really like post a lot or talk much, you know, out next to somebody who's like posting 3 times a day. You know, like I would just think like maybe those personalities are like just a little conflicting. So it's really just being thoughtful and like how you're orchestrating the room, and then giving space in that conversation to really be driven by the attendees. So that's kind of like the format of how we set it up. And then
Yeah,
there's
it's
various
really like
ways of,
knowing your attendees, right? And I
yeah,
have a friend who's a great cookie designer. She does a lot of like massive cookies, and she recently did an event where it was a retirement party and she painted all of the attendees' faces on cookies
that's
and
so
like
fun.
so detailed. And I said to her, I'm like, I don't have the event for it yet, but like heard here, like now it's public information of like I want to do this as a place setting. Like I want
Yeah.
painted face cookies and they're like very time consuming. They take her like so long to do. Like you'd have to
Yes.
like really know your attendees, really know them, but like forget the little like handwritten like in the back of the room like tent card, right?
Yeah.
Like you show up and your face is on a cookie, like
Oh my gosh.
and not just like a printed cookie because it's like anyone can print a cookie, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I've definitely like, I think it was at HR Tech conference last year, the year before. They had like one of those cookie machines at
Yep.
one of the vendor booths where you came up and
Yep.
it's like, take a picture and then, oh, here's your face on a cookie.
Yeah.
And like, those are great and they're
Yeah.
amazing for like if you want speed, but like if
Yeah.
you want that like wow factor, I'm
Yeah.
like, I need this cookie contact
I'm
because
telling
that's
you, like
amazing.
it's wild. Like it is not, because she said like I can do the printed face on a cookie, but it's speed, right? Like this is something
Yeah,
that like it's very high touch, very like exclusive. Like who is going to paint your face on a cookie, right? So
yeah.
it's yeah, it's very niche, but I'm like it exists. The event exists for it.
I feel like that's like it's definitely like an element of like of fun too, right?
Yeah.
Like people when they come in and they see the fact that like, oh, just like go find your face. Like that's
That
kind
gets
of
weird.
different and like
Yeah.
unique and weird, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's not like, hey, go find your place card. Like, oh, it's immediate like, oh, cool. Like I get to go look at all these other like mini works of art,
Yeah.
really and then, eat a delicious, I mean, maybe you would eat your cookie face. I don't know. Yeah, maybe a little be a little weird to eat your own cookie
It
face,
would,
but
but
I
that's
would totally
also why
like
it's funny.
munch it.
That's
Yes,
also why it's funny, right?
yes. I love that. I
Amazing.
love that.
Yeah.
One fun thing that I did see that was like kind of about like adding, and this is just more of like, kind of allowing your attendees to create something was at an event. It was like a creative event in the city, and they had this like bin of Lego people. And so it was like, here's
Mm.
like little shirts, and here's the heads and the hair and the accessories. And so, like, when you came in, like that was like your check in. So you created your own Lego person and then you had like a little lanyard that you could connect like the top of your Lego head to. And then you also had like a little name tag. But it was kind of fun to like go around and like compare your Lego people with
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
and it was
Get.
like again
Yeah.
that element of creativity. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. And there's so much we can do. It's just, I mean, really, it's just having the time and
Yeah.
budget to do it.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
well, we are coming up to time, so thank you so much for
Love
being
it.
here today. Want to leave you with the opportunity to tell the people where they can find you online, if they want to learn more about what you're doing and talk events with you.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's Emily Dilbeck. And just send me a little friend request. Would love to connect. There's several different events that I'm running, a few different series that looking for speakers for myself. So if you want to connect and learn more, would love to reach out. And then you can also reach me at Emily D at unboundb2b.com if you want to learn more about what we're doing over at Unbound. So yeah, thanks so much for having me on, Shenandoah. This is great.
Thank you.